going to move forward into our next panel with a contribution from another group, which I'm really appreciating these group contributions, Asterion. So let me introduce them before I hand things over. Alice Ray is an interdisciplinary PhD student at the University of Edinburgh. Her research focuses on the communication of trauma in British WW1, World War I, literature and classical reception. Her research interests include Homer, epic, military studies, and 18th to 20th century literature. Alice is passionate about open learning and accessible teaching and research environments. In 2020, Alice joined the Open University as an associate lecturer teaching culture and Greco-Roman myth. Alexandra F. Morris is a PhD researcher and tutor in history at Teesside University. Her research interests and expertise includes disability in ancient Egypt and Greece, and ancient Egyptian, Greek, and Roman art, and ancient history. She's also co-author, along with Debbie Sneed, of the Society for Classical Studies blog post, A Brief Guide to Disability Terminology and Theory in Ancient World Studies, and an initiative designed to demystify disability terminology, and we'll put a link to that in the chat. And Tony Potter is currently an independent researcher and recent MA graduate of the Open University. He is currently researching sensory change in Etruscan mortuary context by taking a new materialist approach to the archaeological evidence. Tony identifies as neurodivergent, having been diagnosed with OCD, and is passionate about raising the profile and celebrating the achievements of neurodivergent people in the field of classics. And so I'm going to hand things over to Asterion with a paper entitled Asterion, Neurodiversity and Classics. Take it away.
Thank you for the introduction, Hannah and Joe, and thank you for inviting us to present our paper, Asterion, Neurodiversity and Classics, at this year's Res Difficiles. We are all delighted to be here representing Asterion Hub, as it gives us the opportunity to talk to you all about Asterion, about our origins as an organisation, our goals and values, and we want to talk to you about the progress and impact that Asterion has had since its official launch back in August last year. Some of you may already be familiar with Asterion. However, if you are unaware of our organisation and our collective achievements so far, then what follows should give you a useful introduction to everything that we do. Asterion owes its existence to the hard work and unwavering dedication of our directors, Dr. Cora Beth Fraser and Justine T. Wolfenden. What initially began as a series of informal discussions about a project to develop an online platform for autistic classicists quickly expanded into an idea that would come to fruition with the development and successful launch of an inclusive network to share the experiences of many different types of neurodivergent people in our field. Moreover, rather than focusing solely on autistic people involved in UK classics, Asterion widened its scope to shine a spotlight on the lived experiences of people with a whole range of conditions. These include, but are certainly not limited to, ADHD, dyspraxia, bipolar, Tourette's, dyslexia, and OCD. Since our official launch last summer, Asterion has gone from strength to strength. We have established a website and a blog which contains a series of thought-provoking posts on different issues relating to neurodiversity, all of which you can find at asterion.uk. The link is there for you to follow. We've also posted over 25 profiles of neurodivergent people in classics. We have an ever-growing Twitter presence at Asterion Hub, so please do join the conversation and go ahead and follow us if you are so inclined to do so. I've currently managed a Twitter account myself, so come along and engage with us. We'd love to see you there. We have an outstanding team of around 30 writers and a dedicated editorial board, all of whom identify as neurodivergent in at least one way. To date, we have been invited to promote the work of Asterion through blog posts, podcasts, and we have presented at various events throughout the UK, the most recent being the Classical Association Conference in Swansea and you can find our videos for the Neurodiverse Classics panel on the Asterion website. Our goals and objectives are simple. We wish to amplify the neurodivergent voices of staff and students in classics and classics adjacent disciplines in the UK, be it classical studies, ancient history, archaeology, etc. We define classics in the broadest of senses. We want to raise the profile of neurodiversity in these academic environments. We want to celebrate and share the achievements and successes of neurodivergent classicists. We want to tackle the barriers that stand in the way of inclusion, and we aim to do this by developing resources and through support and training. But importantly, we want to develop a better understanding of the issues that neurodivergent people in our field face on a daily basis. In addition to our goals and objectives, Asterion has been founded on 4 core values, and they underpin everything that we do as an organisation. Firstly, Asterion is inclusive, which is hugely important to us. This means that we will welcome anyone who has a personal and or professional interest in neurodiversity, neurodivergent or not. And in addition to this, Asterion is and always will be a safe and welcoming online space to encourage conversations and develop ideas about how we can start thinking about classics in new and different ways. Secondly, Asterion not only welcomes, but also actively supports self-diagnosis, a subject that will be discussed shortly in this paper. Thirdly, Asterion recognises the importance of intersectionality by evaluating differences in gender, sexuality, race, and class. At Asterion, we acknowledge that many neurodivergent people are also gender diverse. Therefore, it is essential to us that the intersections with LGBTQ+ communities are acknowledged and represented by Asterion. Fourthly, Asterion will always be majority led by neurodivergent classicists. It has become clear to us that many neurodivergent people have been misrepresented or misdirected by medical or support services because textbook explanations of neurodiversity are more often than not written by people without personal experience. We believe that the personal insight of fellow neurodivergent colleagues is essential in fostering both community and providing practical input based upon our first-hand lived experiences. We hope that this quick introduction to Asterion has been informative, and you will shortly be hearing from Asterion board member Alexandra, who will be discussing the importance of self-diagnosis and what it means to us at Asterion. But to close this introductory section of our paper, we would like to briefly consider the future and extend an invitation to you all. There might be times when we do not get everything right. We are a new organisation and we are learning as we go. We do not claim to speak for everybody, and we might not always achieve the balance that we are all aiming for. But if things do go wrong, when they go wrong, if that is the case, we will listen and we will do better. Any mistakes we make will be public and open, and everyone will be able to learn from them. We would like to think that over the coming years, Asterion will establish itself as an indispensable resource for pedagogy and support in UK classics. We would like to represent and celebrate difference, whilst also advocating for improved support and understanding within the discipline. To do this, however, we need support. So if you identify as neurodivergent in classics, whether you're formally diagnosed or not, whether you are in the UK or not, whether you are currently employed or studying in classics or not, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love for you to write for us, contribute to our blog, and even just to connect with us. So please do get in touch if you want. Thank you. And I'm going to hand you over to Alexandra now to talk about the next section of our paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Another principle that is fundamental to Asterion Hub is the acceptance and validity of self-diagnosis. What this means is, if you suspect you are neurodiverse in some fashion, but do not have a formalized medical diagnosis, or identify as having some neurodivergent traits, you are welcome at Asterion Hub. This is because the access and financial cost to obtaining a formalized medical diagnosis is often restrictive along class, gender, and racial lines, especially in terms of formalized disability or neurodivergent diagnoses. where women, people of color, and other minority groups are often underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed by the medical profession, and medical settings can also often be a source of trauma for disabled and neurodivergent people. Medical diagnosis also is tangibly bound up with the medical rather than the social model of disability. The medical model sees disability and neurodivergence as something which has to be fixed or treated in order for the disabled or neurodivergent person to fit into society, whereas the social model views society as the problem. In this model, it is not the individual, their body and impairments which need to be corrected, but the society that prevents disabled and neurodivergent people from participating equitably in relation to, quote, structural aspects of the social material conditions experienced by disabled and neurodivergent people in the family, education, income, and financial support, employment, housing, transport, and the built environment, end quote. And just note that was from the Politics of Disablement. While having a medical diagnosis can be helpful in obtaining formally recognized accommodations in a higher education setting, we recognize that it is not possible, nor should it be required for someone to do so. Instead, we aim to be a welcoming collective space where people can learn from each other and share resources and lived experiences in order to help one another. We also see neurodiversity as a difference worth embracing and being proud of, while acknowledging that there are often academic and societal difficulties that can occur with being neurodiverse. We hope Asterion Hub will be able to help tackle these academic and social difficulties through awareness and the resources we offer, and hope to help make classics a more welcoming space for all people. Now, Alice will talk to you about some of these resources and how the Asterion Hub can be used by both neurodiverse and non-neurodiverse people for advice and support. She will also be concluding this paper. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Tony, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Excellent, great. Sorry, dodgy Wi-Fi in Edinburgh. So thank you both so much for that wonderful introduction. And I feel like Tony and Alexandra have really highlighted the extent to which Asterion not only provides a voice, but support and insight into the neurodiverse experience of classics, and also just an amazing hub of exceptional talent, both academically and as human beings. I worry sometimes when we talk about neurodiversity in academia, like all conversations around disability, we focus in on perceived deficit. As Alexandra said, it's a problem to be solved. How do we make you normal? How do we make your educational experience normal? And that's not the goal. It's not okay. And often these conversations are well-meaning, if entirely misguided. And these can include somewhat insulting infographics of skills and strengths a neurodiverse person might bring to your team if you were to hire one. These are incredibly dehumanizing things, although they do come from a good place. So while I talk about resources today, I wanted to start with that disclaimer that Asterion, as Tony and Alexandra have so well highlighted this afternoon, does not see neurodiversity in this way. It is not a problem to be solved. Resources are there as support and as a position to give people a voice. They're not intended to be seen as a fix in any way whatsoever. So in 2019, I was hired as a tutor in the newly inaugurated Writing Centre at the University of Edinburgh. The instigator was a man named Dr. Blanc, and his view was that writing is a core element of academia, and yet so often at BRIC universities, students are not given the opportunity to explore this skill in depth. So he created a system in which students could come in a one-on-one session, regardless of special circumstances or experience. However, over the course of a year, I noticed that over a third of my students had what they would consider specific learning difficulties or neurodivergence. Most of these overwhelmingly had dyslexia or autism, and most of them had both. These were both students that self-identified and had formal diagnoses, and as Alexandra said, the complexity of that situation is not to be underestimated. realizing how big a problem this seemed to be for so many students, or rather, should I say, how often students seem to perceive this as a problem and want support, really stuck with me. And I decided to ask, beg, borrow and steal for a little bit of funding to better equip myself to work with students in a one-on-one environment. I was lucky enough to receive funding from the wonderful Sportula Europa, as well as the University of Edinburgh, to undertake formal training with Dyslexia Action to support adult learners with neurodiversity in the writing process. The training I took in 2020 has really been key to my understanding of how to support students with neurodiversities that I don't personally have, such as dyslexia. I don't think we can underestimate how important it is to understand where students and colleagues are coming from with specific conditions and experiences. Not only in terms of teaching style, but also in recognising the challenges that my students faced and what support was available within the institution as well. Extra time, for instance, is the most valuable thing you can offer to a dyslexic student for a variety of reasons. This is often the most controversial support that you can offer a dyslexic student, particularly from the perspective of lecturers and tutors. In a conversation with a colleague, I explained why this was such a vital support for students with dyslexia. After explaining this with liberal reference to the training that I had received, and specifically focusing on not only how dyslexia affects working memory and why extra time is essential here, but also the psychological challenges such as discrimination and mental health and depression that can come with such discrimination. Suddenly, my colleague found extensions somewhat less frustrating and objectionable. This led to my giving training to the department as a whole to pass on the knowledge that I had received. I realised that he was not objecting because he was a bad person in any way. He just didn't understand why extensions were so essential, and I wanted to pass that on. It was on these grounds that Dr. Fraser contacted me and asked me to join Asterion. She explained to me that she and her co-founder felt strongly that Asterion should be a hub for all people interested in neurodiversity in classics. Working on this premise, we have discussed over time how we might grow and develop a cache of training, advice, and other resources. This is focused around a blog in which many neurodivergent individuals explore their experience of classics and their interest in classics, giving a vital voice to people across a whole spectrum of experience within the classical field, not just PhD and lecturers. Over time, we hope that Asterion can also provide another vital function. I was able to take training to work with dyslexic students because I was a PhD with too much time on my hands in a pandemic, and also as a result had access to funding. A lot of scholars, especially independent scholars, are not going to have that opportunity. Teachers as well just don't have the time or access to funds to take on additional training to work, to better understand conditions and the support they can offer. However, if those who do have experience and those who have had training come forward with short articles, short videos, any form of advice or experience that they can pass on, we can make available to a wider range of people in educational environments the expertise that we have gained over time and through different access routes. So for instance, before Asterion launched, Dr. Fraser released an exceptional blog about her personal experience with autism. Not long after this, I began working as an associate lecturer. I encountered a number of students with dyslexia who were autistic or had ASD and felt frightened by classics as a field for a number of personal reasons. Being able to point them to Dr. Fraser's blog was a huge help in reassuring these students that not only did they have a place, they weren't alone. And one example really stands out to me. One student passed this blog on to their mother because it was open access and not institutionally protected, like many resources on a university library. As the sole carer of my student, she was the first who was a first-generation scholar, she often felt lost as to how best to support the student as they studied, not only in terms of the topic, but in terms of how they could and were able to do this. Dr. Fraser's blog was vital to her, as it was to the student in terms of reassurance and guidance. So my own work personally has focused on disseminating what I've learned from teaching skills and training, but hopefully over time, Asterion will offer resources for carers, friends, classmates, colleagues, teachers, basically anyone interested in being involved in these conversations and discussions. They'll find vital information and, most importantly, the right terminology to join into those conversations and have a better understanding of how they might also contribute to support loved ones and peers as we all explore and research antiquity. So I hope that's given you a little bit of understanding of what Asterion is and what we hope to achieve over time, as well as giving a lovely face, I hope, from the three of us to Asterion. We are very excited to be moving forward and to have so much support, not only from each other, but also from the wider community as well. And we really hope that over time, as many of you as possible will join us in having this important conversation. Thank you.